The mind of equanimity. Let's explore that today together. But first, let's just take a moment to settle into our space. Try to find a nice, quiet place, nice, comfortable position, relaxed position. Let's settle in and close our eyes. Let's take 3 really good breaths. Let's start to feel that our body starts to calm, and then our mind will start to follow. And this will help us receive the information, allow the seeds to plant or the ripening effect to occur. Thank you. So let's take a look today at the mind of equanimity or equanimity. And what is equanimity? Equanimity is a mind that is able to see things with a very warm and friendly feeling. And we might say to ourselves, well, I do that most of the time, and I still have some difficulties or challenging moments and challenging people in my life. And what I want to do is I really want to take a deep look at equanimity. And it's not just so much trying to do something, it's really about transforming and becoming, especially with the full moon of this month. It's really about being able to stop seeing these dualistic appearances that we have all the time. And as long as we're valuing things with a dualistic appearance, as long as we're seeing things separate from each other, then the mind of equanimity is not really have taken the root. It's really not deeply in our heart, and it's not what we're truly living at this moment. And one of the ways to really look at it is to ask yourself, do you see things in a way to where we put them in different categories? And I want to use several different examples, and hopefully maybe these examples will be meaningful, or maybe all of them you can really identify with. And I want you to take them and be able to really start contemplating them and seeing that this dualistic appearance of life that we're living day in and day out with thousands of thoughts a day is keeping us trapped in this 3D world. And everyone on this call is conscious of and wanting to move into that 5D realm to where we can really start manifesting the true reality of life, as well as living a more of a happier, calmer, peaceful life. And if we look at what these appearances really are to our minds, is that we're looking at things in the lens of attach. I like this, I don't like this, and I'm attracted to this, and I'm not attracted to that. I'm comfortable with this, I'm not comfortable with that. I like, these people are my friends and my family. These are my enemies, and then there's another category of strangers. We're constantly categorizing everything in our mind, and when we look at something, we put that's a friend or a foe, right? This is attractive or unattractive. Or I don't have, there's that third category, I have no opinion whatsoever because I don't even notice it, right? That's the strangers of life, the stranger things in life. So we're constantly analyzing and categorizing and putting people, places, and things in these groups. And what is that doing to our mind? And what is that doing to our everyday world? Our everyday reality, right? Because if you take a deep look, let's just take the look of the mind that these are my friends and family, and these are people that I dislike or my enemies, right? And then these are the strangers, right, in life. What does it really break down to is the minds that we've talked about, or delusional states of mind that we've talked about many times, which is breaks down into the attachments, the angers, and the ignorance of life. right? The things that I like, the friends and the family, is it truly a love in my life, or is it more of an attachment? There's such a fine line between that love and attachment, right? And the things that I'm angry about, isn't that a correlation to the ones that people that I don't like in my life, or to people that are my enemies, right? It's not just the people, it's also places and things, right? We can put in those categories. And then all the thousands or millions of people that we walk by every day, we don't even notice, right? They're strangers. We pay no attention to. Most people in our life, we pay no attention to, have no feelings about. And that's kind of the ignorance of life, not really seeing things for how they truly do exist, the connectedness of life, that we are connected to all things, all sentient beings, you know, animals and insects and people. And we don't realize that there's a larger scope out there for us to be connecting to. And we're missing this connection mainly because we have these dualistic appearance, right? That I feel that this is my family and my friends and my close karmic connections, and these are the people that I do like. And if you really look at it deeply, it's funny how our mind works. Is that the people we like is really only the people that are kind to us, right? I mean, think about it. If someone treats me poorly or speaks to me unkindly, I don't like them. I put them in the other category. If you're going to speak to me kindly and you're going to be, considerate to me and nice to me, then I put you in my friends category. So it's about how others treat us is what category we put them in. And that's actually a very ridiculous mind. And we're going to explore deeply why that mind doesn't really help us move out of the 3D realm into the 5D realm, why it keeps us trapped. And that's what this is really all about, is that this dualistic appearance and these appearances that come to our mind are keeping us trapped and manifesting what the true reality of life really is and what we really want to gain and desire out of life. So once someone treats me kindly, I put them in that friends category, and I keep them there until they do something, to where I pull them out and put them in another category, which is the either I don't care about them anymore and we'll put them in the stranger category, but now they're my enemy or dislike category. But if you look in that group of people, the ones that I put into my family or my friends, right, or the ones that I like category, now I have this feeling towards them. And is it really love? And sometimes it is, but a lot of times if we look at it, it's really attachments. There's a reason why we like them, because we're going to get something from them typically, or I can do something for them, and then in return I'll get something back. If we're honest with ourselves, we live in the world of attachments because this is a realm of desires. This realm we live in is the lessons to understand the difference between attachment and love. So if we keep them in that category, we think that that's true, right? We think that I like them, they've been kind to me, they're a good person, and we think that's true reality, right? But yet, how many other people see that same person as a stranger? And how many other people see that person as their enemy? So then what's the truth, right? That they're a friend of mine, they're enemy of someone else's, they're a stranger. So what's the basis of the truth there? And then the ones that I have put into the ones I don't like because they probably typically treated me a certain way or said something to me and that I didn't care for, or did something that I didn't think was right, or spoke something that I didn't think was the truth. And I put them in this other category. And in that category of the ones I don't like or enemies, how many other people out there see them as their loved ones? See them as someone that they're attracted to, not unattracted to. And then once again, how many other people see them as a complete stranger? So I'm just trying to show you that these minds we've created, they're created from my own mind. And then we believe that they're true. That's the truth. This one's a good one, this one's a bad person. And, these people I don't pay much attention to. So they're not even in my field of vision, and they're just not important. Or I just completely don't see them at all. So, what is the truth? Where should our mind be resting? Now, I understand that we have close karmic connections. Of course we do. I understand that we have family. Of course we do. And I understand that people do things that aren't very kind, and they actually can be abusive, and they also can be not evaluating certain boundaries in life, and they cross those boundaries, and things are very challenging with a lot of people. We understand that. However, the mind that starts going down the mind of equanimity, that stops grasping on these different types of categories and starts looking and viewing all of these different categories up from a warm and friendly position, will start shifting your reality, because you'll start seeing things more how they truly do exist, and not from just your own senses that are actually been there's a word called contaminated senses, the things that I see and hear and smell and so forth have come from all my previous lives to this one. I brought this continuum in with me, and from this continuum I see things, I hear things, I taste things, I smell things in a certain way, which means it's from a dislike and a like. And what I want everyone to start doing is, let's evaluate that, right? Let's see if that really does exist that way. And I just talked about smells, and I mentioned this on our Zoom class. And when I was taught many years ago that smells only exist from my mind, from my senses, not because, well, I could smell something one way and someone could smell it a different way. Same thing with my vision and hearing and so forth, which may be pleasant to my ears of music, like what I listen to, my kids can't stand, right? And when my kids listen to some of the music I don't like, right? So where does this all come from? It's coming from our mind. The same thing with those categories, right? Of that I'm attracted to, unattracted to, and neutral, or that these are my friends, enemies, and strangers, right? Or my attachments, my anger, my ignorance. These are all three categories of delusional states of mind, or my own state of mind. And I want to start taking a deeper look at these own states of mind, and one of the ones was smells. So I was told that to start as a working hypothesis, see that what you like and dislike only comes from the mind. Does it truly exist in the way that it's appearing to my mind or to my senses? So I took that as my working hypothesis, and I tested it, I practiced it. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. Is don't take any of these teachings as gospel. I mean, don't believe anything I say. Test it all, though. Make it as a working hypothesis. Put it into an environment where you can test it, and when you test it, see if it functions. Because the only way you start having faith in teachings and start having belief in something that works is that you've tested it and it functions, and then it builds a little faith. And then you test something else and you see that it functions, and it builds a little bit more, and you stay on that path. And that's a spiritual path. Find something that's functioning. So with the smells, I was taking out the trash about, I don't know, many years ago. I mean, 8, 10 years ago, whatever it may have been back then. And I was told that the a rotten smell, a smell that I find very offensive, doesn't truly exist. So I tested it, right? I was taking out the trash and I smelled something. I thought, oh man, this is awful. So I opened up the lid and put my head in the can and, took a really big whiff of it. At first, threw my head back. And then I kept thinking, wait a minute, where's this mind of equanimity? Does this really smell this awful? Because I know that there are others, animals out there, that think this is heaven, right? This is like a pot roast cookie, or something that we find so amazingly, bread baking or cake in the oven, or whatever it may be, that we find so pleasing and so wonderful, right? So where's this mind coming from? And so I practice that. Yeah, I practice smelling very offensive things deeply, with the mind knowing that I could have a warm and friendly feeling towards it. And then I watched it change. I watched my mind change. I watched it transform. I watched where it didn't throw me back anymore, didn't jerk my head back anymore, right? Just like physical pain. Physical pain is only coming from the mind. Our body can have a sensation. It doesn't have to be categorized as pain, right? I suffered from a knee injury for many, many years. And prior to my last surgery, I suffered deeply. But I learned that that was a sensation of my body, and I wasn't identifying that sensation of my body as pain, and then it didn't bring me down into a depression, didn't bring me down where I couldn't do anything, didn't bring my mind angry at the pain. Because we get angry at disease, we get angry at pain, we get angry at things that we don't want in our life. We find very hard of acceptance, and really what's happening with when we don't have a mind of equanimity, we are grasping. We're self-grasping, right? This is what a whole month has been. It's been topic after topic about different forms of self-grasping, because all of our challenges and all of our negative karma come from our self-grasping. And when we're grasping on these different categories, right, we're not having a mind of equanimity. And start off with things that are easy to identify, easy things that we can start looking at, that you can say, hey, I'm grasping at that, right? Or I find this so attractive, and I have to have it in my life to where I start absorbing into it. I want it, right? I need to gain this in my life. That's a grasping instead of having more of a mind of equanimity. And I'm not saying that we don't have passions and desires and wants. Of course we do. I'm also not saying that things that we don't like, that we should turn into a doormat and let someone abuse us or let someone take advantage of us. It's none of that, right? That was one of the questions we had this week. What happens if somebody is more in an abusive state? Or what if somebody, I think the way the question was proposed, didn't respect my boundaries, or they didn't see the boundaries, or they didn't understand, they go past whatever those boundaries may be. And that's another topic, boundaries, but let's just go with it for a moment, right? So we can always have a peaceful mind of equanimity, a warm and friendly feeling. But when it goes to a point of something that is abusive, or the other person is reacting in a very delusional state, what can we do? Well, we could walk away, right? We're able to say, hey, I love you, and we'll be back when your mind changes, and walk away. Right? We always have that option. But this mind of equanimity is not a passive mind, right? Compassion and acceptance and even love are very active minds. What's a passive mind is that when someone is angry at us, or something occurs, or a situation arises, and we automatically react to it, that's effortless, right? That's a passive mind, because our mind is only reacting to the situation. What is that's a passive mind. What's an active mind is a mind that sits back and says, wait a minute, this person's acting inappropriately. This person has crossed some boundaries. This person is being disrespectful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to keep a mind of equanimity. I'm going to keep a mind of warm and friendly feeling. And I'm going to say, when your delusional states of mind calm down or resides, then I will be back. Right? I will be back. Because you have to realize everything is impermanent. So those delusional states of minds will subside. And then you can have a rational conversation. But if you try to reason or teach or react to someone who's being delusional, you're only making the situation worse. So a mind of equanimity can be demonstrated all the time. A mind of equanimity can be held. And the more that you start holding that mind, the more that mind will start expanding. And what mind is going to get you out of this 3D trap, right? What mind is going to get you out of this feeling of being stuck, or feeling of anxieties, right? Or feeling of depression, or not wanting to be in this realm any longer, wanting to move on and wanting to manifest into a 5D realm. What minds are going to get you there? And one of the minds that really are so important is this mind of equanimity. Because if we keep seeing things in this dualistic appearances, right, then we're not going to be able to make that transition or transformation. One of the things that Ali talked about in her last call was the difference with the male and female energy. And then conventionally, that does exist. And I just want to plant the seed for a moment that conventionally in 3D, there is male and female. But in that 5D realm, males and female energy also does not exist. So we can start looking at that through that type of lens, right? And we can go deeper in another teaching regarding that. But if we start looking at, hey, as my working hypothesis, I want to start experiencing these, the connectedness of life, this connection that we have to all things. And how do I do that? How do I start mixing my mind where other things that are more connected to me? I do a lot of scuba diving. One of the things I do when I go underneath the water, instead of thinking that I'm visiting another world, which is common for divers, I think how connected I am to this world, right? How connected I am to the fish and to all the wildlife and to all the corals and plants, and how there's the connection there, right? And that connection is not seeing me separate from them. It's not seeing myself separate from the other marine life. It's seeing myself. It's almost mixing my mind like you mix water with water. It's seamlessly mixed together. And that's where we want to start taking this working hypothesis and say, hey, does that truly exist? Can I live a life to where I'm mixing my mind, where I'm melding together these groups of family, enemies, and strangers? If I take this as my working hypothesis, do those groups, and here's the question, do those groups increase? Do I keep having friends and enemies and strangers? Are they increasing? Or are they starting to meld together? Do those categories start looking less and less? Right? Do the strangers that you walk now down the street that you now are thinking that I'm connected to them, that I have a warm and friendly feeling to them, even though I don't know them? And then I start looking at my enemies with a warm and friendly feeling, and I start and seeing where that takes you. And then also with my loved ones, and family, and friends, what happens to those three categories? Do they start to become one, or do they stay separate as three? And that's the way to test this. And then by doing so, how do I start to feel? Right? Because if you're starting to be able to meld these categories together, if you start being conscious that we are all connected in a way of a very warm and friendly feeling to all things, isn't that give you a peaceful mind, a more relaxed mind, right? A mind with less judgment, a mind with less my truth over your truth, right? A mind of less, with more understanding and compassion and love for all things, right? Because that's what we want to practice, right? We want to start practicing and understanding that different minds will start creating this environment to help us manifest into more of that 5D realm. And I know that's where we all want to start moving to, or all want to start living more there. We have moments and taste and flashes, but how can we widen that gap? So let's go ahead and take a moment to, let's do a meditation just for maybe about 10 minutes. And we're going to do the meditation of the mind of equanimity. So let's go ahead and find a nice, comfortable position. I like to have, excuse me, an upright back, upright spine. I think it keeps us from wandering and sinking in our meditations. I like to have my shoulders back. I like to have my hands resting in my lap comfortably. I dip my chin a little bit. I keep my tongue pretty much on top, towards the top of the roof of my mouth and touching the top teeth. Keeps me from swallowing too much during my meditation. I leave my eyes just a little bit of my eyelids have a little bit of light cracked into the underneath them. So just open your eyes just a tad. Just allow just a little bit of light in. And then take 3 really good breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then close your mouth and just breathe naturally. And let's just start observing our breath. We want to observe our breath at the level of our heart. Just watch the natural rise and fall of your chest with every inhale and exhale. And just feel the natural rhythm of your breath. And as our body starts sinking into our space and our mind starts to calm and settle, and if our mind wanders very compassionately and gently, just bring back our concentration to the level of our heart. Just watching, feeling the natural rhythm of your breath. And then from this place of calmness, we can contemplate. We can contemplate the mind of equanimity. And then I can imagine all the people that I love, all the people that I like, all the people that are my friends and family. I can start seeing all those people in a group. And let's put that group on our left side. Let's visualize this whole group of people that we love and like and care for. And our left side of vision. Let's imagine that group. And now let's imagine right in front of us, in the middle, a group of all the people that we dislike, people we don't like. And some of those we may even consider our enemies. And let's put them straight in front of us. Let's imagine that whole group of people, the ones that we don't like. And then the largest group to the right of us, of all the people that are strangers, we don't pay any attention to. We walk by without even looking at, or they're there in the world. It's a large, huge group. That recognition alone is pretty powerful. And we have these three groups. To the left, friends and family. Directly in front of us, our enemies, people we don't like. And to the right, the strangers. The first realization we can have is that the friends and families, the group to our left, probably the reason why they're in that group, most of them, is because they treat us what we think is kindly or nice. And that's why they're in that group. Because the way typically someone treats us is the way we feel about them. And that's a contemplation within itself, how ridiculous that mind actually truly is. How much opportunities we're missing in life because of that mind alone. So we understand that we have that understanding. That's probably why they're in that group, or I was born into that group with family. And within this family, some I like and some I don't like as well. And then within that group of enemies, people that I dislike, most of those I probably dislike because they don't treat me the way I want to be treated. And how probably I'm missing out of so many lessons and so many wonderful understandings and realizations because I keep those people in that group. And then the final group, the strangers, of how much I'm missing in that group because I don't pay them any attention. I don't think there's anything there that I can gain from them. Or I just don't have the time. The groups exist based on how typically they treat me. And I place them in those groups. And the question is, do they belong in those groups? And is my mind the so-called truth? So if we go back to the left group of friends and family, the ones that I love and like, how many other people and other around the world dislike them? How many people around the world find those people as their enemies? Or how many people around the world find them to be strangers? So you start to think, okay, I have my group of friends and families, people that I love, I like, that I'm attracted to, even some attachment there, maybe a lot of attachment there. But there's others who don't like them. And then the group in front of me, that the ones that I dislike, that I have an aversion to, that I push away in my life, that I don't want in my life, that I find unattractive, how many people in the world love them? How many people in the world find them attractive and kind? And then the group with my largest group of strangers, how many other people love or hate them? And the deeper we go with this meditation, the more we find this mind is ridiculous. It's ridiculous to keep categorizing people based on the way that they treat me. And then we start to develop this mind of equanimity, right? We start to develop a mind, a warm and friendly feeling to all sentient beings. We start to meld these categories together. They start to mix like water mixing with water. My mind starts to mix with all categories as one. And as these groups soften and the boundaries no longer exist within these categories, we become peaceful. We become happier. We become where we stop grasping, because the categories is a self-grasping. The categories, the dualistic appearance of like and unlike, attractive and unattractive, is a grasping mind. A mind of a warm and friendly feeling to all sentient beings, to all situations, to all places and things. There's a mind that's moving from 3D to 5D that will allow you to manifest. It's a loving mind. And creating a mind of equanimity, is creating a kind and loving mind, a kind and loving heart. So let's just spend the last few moments of just feeling a warm and friendly feeling to all three of those groups. And experiencing a mind that's not grasping, and a mind that is developing equanimity. So when you're ready, very compassionately and gently, relax your concentration and open your eyes. So I invite everyone to spend time and do that contemplation, whether it's in formal meditation, whether you're walking, whether you're driving, whether you just have some, before you get out of bed or before you go to sleep, and spend some time of that mind. Look at these different categories. Do they truly exist in the way you think they do? the way you think they do, right? Take a look at this mind and look deeply. The ones that I love, other people don't like, and the ones that I don't like, other people love. And the ones that I spend no time with or give no time to, other people like or dislike them. And what you'll find is that mind is the mind of finding things attractive and unattractive and neutral. And that mind equates to our three main delusions in life, which is attachments, anger, and ignorance. And by just simply spending some time with those categories, we'll start to reduce our attachments and anger in life. We'll stop becoming discontented and dissatisfied at times. We'll stop having a relationship of love one moment and hating the person the next moment, right? I mean, how many times have we been in relationships and thought, oh, I'm going to love this person forever and they're going to be the person that I'll end up with and we'll be happy. And then, a year later, we hate that person. I don't want to ever talk to that person again, right? That's the mind we want to start softening. And we want to soften that mind by understanding it, that it's only coming from my own mind. And from my own mind, I can start evaluating that as my working hypothesis and see where that takes us. Because the mind of equanimity is love, it's patience, it's compassion, it's giving, it's accepting, right? It's going with the flow. And these other minds are keeping me trapped. And so the more we can spend time contemplating, and more time we can spend in meditation, evaluating that mind, the more peaceful and calmer and happier we'll become. So I hope you have found this meaningful. My wish is that you truly will put this into practice and spend some time with this contemplation and find the love and joy that this could create. So thank you.